Hey, this is Rotom Tech here, and this is going to be a series of doing LeetCode questions to prepare for my upcoming interview. If you are here from YouTube algorithm or something, you're welcome to follow along or just watch the video. Okay, diving right in. This is going to be the first question here, to sum on easy difficulty, and given an array of integers, nums, and an integer target, return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to target. You may assume that each input has exactly one solution, and you may not use the same element twice. You can return the answer in any order. And you can kind of see the examples here. If you have, for example, the array of nums of 2, 7, 11, 15 and targets 9, you can see that 2 plus 7 equals 9, so you return the indices of 0 and 1, and automatically I kind of think a naive way to implement this could be doing two for loops. So if I just do an example here, maybe if I do for I range of the nums, or the length of the nums actually, that would be a little bit better. And let's get num as I. And then we can do another for loop just to check if the other number and this num adds up to target. So we can see that. So for j in range, and it's the same thing of len of nums. And we're actually going to have to iterate from I plus 1 to range of nums here. And other num is going to be nums at j. And we just have to check if num plus other num equals target with an if statement. That would help. And if it does, we just return the indices of I and j, since we're iterating through them. And the question doesn't ask for it since it always had an answer, but if it doesn't, the question was a little bit different. This is just a fail-safe just to return an empty array. And if I just hit run, if I didn't make any typos here, it will accept the case. And this will run at, so we have a time complexity of O of n squared, since we have two for loops going, and it's gonna run in constant space, right? You're not really taking up any space, you're just doing two for loops iteratively. And whatever you're returning is going to be constant. It's going to be a list of two indices here, right? That's never going to change. But how do we make this better? If you look all the way down here, can you come up with an algorithm that is less than O of n squared time complexity? And yeah, we can. It's just that when we do two for loops, we're assuming that we have to keep track of all the numbers and indices at the same time. But as we can see here, I'll just do one for loop. Let's say index with IDX just to be a little bit more clear. For index and num, and we can use the enumerate to get the value and the index at the same time of nums. We can keep track of the other number already by having the target minus num, since they both have to add up to target. We just have to look for the other number. And how do we do that? We just have to find out a way to store that info once we cross the number the first time. And a good way to do that in constant time is just have like a hash table. It's going to have nothing in there for now, but we're going to check to see once we crossed it to see if it's in the table. And if we find the other number in the table, we automatically know that is the target that we're going to achieve, because other num and num has to add up to the target as we logically define here. So if other num in table, it's not in the table yet, but it will be. If other num is in the table, then we can just automatically return the index that we're currently on and the index of the current of the other number. And we're going to set it so the key value pair of the table, so the key is going to be the other num and the value is going to be the index of the other num. So see what I mean in just a second. So else, so if it's not in the table, we're going to set table of num as the index. So we can see that once it iterates through and hits the else, it's going to store that value. So for example, in here, we go through 3, and it's the first number, so we're not going to find anything in the table. So it's going to store 3 as the key, and the value is going to be the index, which is going to be 0. So it's going to be 3 at 0, 2 at 1, and 4 at 2. So once we run into 4 here, after storing 2 the first time, it's going to be 4 at 2 and 2 at 1. So it's going to return both indexes because we're going to be on index 2, and we're going to look for the table, and we're going to run into 2, and it's going to store the index of 1. So we're going to be able to return the index and the index of the other num that we found. And like I said, just for safety precautions, we can just return an empty array. This isn't too relevant to this question because we're going to have an answer again. So as long as I didn't type anything wrong here, there you go. It returns all the cases, and I've submitted this before, so we can see that this example works, and this is going to run at O of n time, since we're only iterating once, but it's going to also run at O of n space, just because we're going to have this hash table here, right? So I showed 2 solutions. The first one is going to take up less space. This is going to take up a little bit more, but this is just going to be a lot faster. So depending on what you're looking for, either answer could work, but I think usually having slower time is better. Okay, perfect. So this is the answer to 2 sum of the LeetCode question.